Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel, and thanks for logging on. Today, we're discussing the Jaquet Droz Grande Seconde limited edition of 88 pieces in white gold with carbon fiber dial. You can see and you can purchase this Jaquet Droz on our website. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you enjoy these videos, and please click on the card in the upper right-hand corner of the screen at any time during this video to see our full sales listing for this watch with additional accessories included in the sale, high-resolution images for your desktop, and of course complete pricing details for this and our entire collection of Jaquet Droz timepieces. Now on my wrist, 6 1/3 inches, 16 centimeters in circumference. This is a large watch, but the proportions largely deceive. It appears more compact and it wears more comfortably than you would expect a 43mm watch on a rather small 16 centimeter circumference wrist. Now that's 43 across the round of the case, not including the highly stylized crown. The watch is not excessively thick despite its large footprint. It's only 12mm thick, and you'll note that sensationally curved sapphire and domed bezel allow it to easily slide underneath the dress cuff. Now from lug to lug, it's a very reasonable 51mm. For a 43mm watch, that's very acceptable. On my smaller wrist, I would say I have plenty of margin on both sides without lug overlap. I would even say you could wear this watch well on a wrist as small as 14.5 centimeters circumference, provided your wrist is oval in profile. Now you could see the key there is that the lugs are somewhat close drilled. That is to say, the strap is sunken somewhat between the lugs away from the periphery. So you can pull the strap straight down around the tight curve of a smaller wrist and wear this large watch easily. I would say if you're considering a large, I would say stylistic, flamboyant, somewhat irreverent watch like an Hublot or even an Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Offshore, consider for a lot less money and no compromise in materials or finish this Jaquet Droz Grande Seconde. Now the aesthetic of the watch is drawn from the 18th century pocket watches created by Jaquet Droz and Son, but here's the thing. Pierre Jaquet Droz and his son never mounted a dial with carbon fiber or featured such an exuberant combination of assembly fixtures and bezel for the sub-registers. This is a combination in many ways of Jaquet Droz aesthetic with a quirky offbeat sensibility and even a little bit of FP Journe. Now the strap is substantial but bonded, not conventionally stitched. As you can see, it has folded edges that blend the alligator seamlessly into the flank and the calf skin of the underside, and then it's a semi-gloss with a white gold pin buckle, stylized but simple. The watch has heft in the hand. If you like the feeling of a precious metal watch on the wrist, you don't feel that a luxury watch should be unduly light as you see in ceramic, composite, titanium, or carbon fiber, this will be right up your alley. You'll also note how the sharp taper of the lugs helps it to wear well on a smaller wrist, but there is a lot of complexity in the caseband. You can see there's almost a concave profile to the lugs when viewed at an oblique angle. They're sophisticated, they're interesting, and like the caseband itself, the lugs are almost sensuous. The dial is handsome and it dominates the watch, but don't undersell the bezel. It's minimalist and with a beautifully domed sapphire on top. It's part of the aesthetic impact of the watch. Now, of course, carbon fiber is a modern material and totally at odds with the 18th century heritage of the brand. Quick history lesson: Pierre Jaquet Droz and his son produced pocket watches and automata during the mid to late 18th century. Both of them died young, which is to say the company was extinct before the turn of the 19th century. Now the brand was briefly reestablished during the 1960s for thoroughly conventional watches, not altogether deserving of the brand name, but in 2001 it was resurrected by the Swatch Group specifically to provide a very offbeat counterpart to its more traditional luxury lines from Breguet, Omega, and Blancpain, and that's what this watch provides. Now the carbon fiber and the limited edition of 88 pieces, in this case, date back to a 2005 model year special series. It has a sort of three-dimensional look to it thanks to the sophisticated weave, and the interlocking weave of the carbon textile with resin creates the appearance of depth and gloss. It frames a beautifully finished white gold bezel surrounding the two sub-registers, and this is the part of the watch that most directly references the work of Pierre Jaquet Droz himself, is this exact combination of Arabic and Roman numerals with outsized seconds register relative to the main time draws a direct link between the modern brand and its historical namesake. It also features small shocks of color in the blue bolts, as well as the alpha style hands of the hours and minutes, and the long needle style hand with a beautiful circular counterweight. Now the watch does pay more than a nod to the style pioneered by F.P. Journe with his first watches bearing his own name from 1999. I'm not going to say it's outright plagiarism because it is more Jaquet Droz than F.P. Journe, but if you're going to steal from the best. Now I will say the watch is an absolute pleasure to wind, though it is automatic. The crown is beautifully knurled, substantial, and it has character. It's not a default part. You can see it was self-consciously styled, and I love that. This is a fashionista brand with perhaps more substance than Hublot and more sense of humor even than F.P. Journe. Now you can see the case back features the caliber 2663.4. It's a Frederic Piguet caliber, which is to say based on the 1150 with twin mainspring barrels, but with a higher beat rate and a 68-hour power reserve. Automatic winding. You can see it's beautifully finished by virtue of the gleam off the edge of every bridge. The anglage is very nice. The coat across the bridges are richly textured, and all of the screw heads are beautifully polished with chamfered slots. There's also a gorgeous guilloche cut white gold winding mass that's a little piece of theater in and of itself. It's a beautiful movement, it's a handmade movement, it's a hand-finished movement, and with a 68-hour automatically wound power reserve, it gives you solidly more punch than the industry standard of 38 to 42 hours. This is a quirky watch. Certainly, it could be a surrogate for anything from Romain Jerome to F.P. Journe to Audemars Piguet to Hublot to Linda Verdlin. I don't think you can precisely pigeonhole it, but the Grande Seconde style has had enduring appeal, thriving almost from the beginning of the resurrected Jaquet Droz in the early 2000s to the present day. This is a watch that has gee-whiz factor and is beautifully finished. It's the luxury watch you imagine in many ways. It looks the part, it feels the part, and it gives you something distinctly different on your wrist. One of only 88 made. You can see and buy this one on our website.